Wow, wow, wow. Well, Joe said it all already, so it's gonna be a short talk. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. Bitcoin in hyperinflating countries, Bitcoin in Turkey and Lebanon. As Joe said perfectly, my name is Ricky. I am one half of the Bitcoin Explorers project. The better half is somewhere there. And what we do in our work is travel mostly in emerging markets and hyperinflating countries to chronicle Bitcoin adoption there and how Bitcoin is playing a key role in those crazy hyperinflating countries. In this new part of our journey, we've been so lucky to be partners of Plan B Forum of this city in Lugano. We are Plan B Forum ambassadors all over the world, because what the city of Lugano is doing here is so important, and it goes so much beyond Bitcoin. They want to create a web of Bitcoin communities. They want to use their knowledge and their experience to connect with other cities in other countries to help them adopt Bitcoin. So I'm really a lucky man that I can travel the world with the Plan B logo on my t-shirt. Recently, as Joe said, we've been in the Middle East, 6 weeks in the Middle East. By the way, promotion. If you want to follow our journey, you can scan that QR code. You find there all our social media. This is how we promote what we do, and we try humbly to educate first world people, to be honest, mostly about what's going on in emerging markets. So we've been to the Middle East, 6 weeks in Turkey and Lebanon, and we were very curious to see and to learn what's happening in Turkey, for example. Turkey is a huge, beautiful country, guys. It's an 85 million people country, amazing, with a very important and big industrial compound. This is a rich country. It's a next empire. It's not a third world country. But still, the local currency, the Turkish lira, has been hyperinflating 60% on an annual basis, according to the official rates. If you talk to the people there, they bet it's even more than that. And for me, I'm Italian, I come from Milan, so I am very lucky to be part of the European economy. I was very curious to see how life is in a hyperinflating country, because from our perspective, we expect a hyperinflating country to be falling apart, you know, full of beggars, full of homeless. When you actually land in Turkey, in Istanbul, for example, a historical, incredible, beautiful city, 22 million citizens, huge. You're surprised because you look around you and restaurants are full of people, streets are full of life, merchants everywhere selling their product. So you think, well, then probably 60% on an annual basis is not that much. These people can actually live. And then if you look a little bit closer and a little bit deeper, for example, in the city center of Istanbul, the historical part of the city, full of tourists, you see a lot of currency exchangers. And of course, those currency exchangers, they serve the tourists, because the law in Turkey prevents the Turks to use foreign currency. They have to use the Turkish lira. So if you want to travel Istanbul, if you want to visit the country, you need to exchange your money with the Turkish lira. So it's full of currency exchangers. But you see something like this. Look at this picture. Obviously, these are not tourists. These are Turks lining up in front of a currency exchange. What are they doing? they are exchanging their Turkish lira in US dollars because they need a store of value. They need it badly because prices are going up on a weekly basis. So they need to have a store of value to protect them from inflation. They, of course, all of them, they prefer the US dollars in cash, but they are also gold bugs. It's full of gold shops in Turkey. It's their tradition. They've been trading gold for millennia, basically. So gold is another very useful store of value for them, but they do more. Wealthy family, they buy real estate. Real estate is better than the Turkish lira. They buy cars. Cars in Turkey are a very good store of value. They don't lose that much price in time as they do in our economy. Some imports are limited. So think about it. A car in Turkey is a great store of value. But low-class families, low-income families, they use detergent as store of value. I've seen it with my own eyes, detergent. They buy detergent in bulk, and detergent is perfect because it doesn't expire. They can sell it peer-to-peer every day. They buy detergent, they store it home, and they resell it in time. This is how hyperinflation looks. Detergent is better than the Turkish lira for so many of them. What about Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin there? Of course it is. Istanbul is full of Bitcoin stores like this one. You can buy and sell Bitcoin there. You can buy and sell cryptocurrencies there. You can buy and sell stablecoin there. So people knows that there is Bitcoin. They know Bitcoin is an alternative. But there is a problem though. Officially, they are allowed to buy Bitcoin, but they are not allowed to use it for their daily payments. Why? Because the government, the Turkish government, in April 2021 passed a regulation that doesn't allow them to use cryptocurrencies as a payment tool. So if this is true, if they are not allowed to use Bitcoin to pay for service and goods, how come we could do this? That's my partner Laura fixing our tooth and paid in Bitcoin. This is my barber in Izmir. Up there we are in the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul buying, I think those were pistachios. You even find in the Grand Bazaar up there the Bitcoin accepted sign, how they can still use Bitcoin in their daily life if it's not allowed. Well, nobody knows for real. According to some local lawyers, the regulation is not constitutional because it takes an actual law approved by the local parliament to ban payment in Bitcoin or in other currencies. It's peer-to-peer economy, so probably they don't give a fuck that much, pardon my French, so they do it anyway because they need it. But this is what's happening. Bitcoin is an alternative for them, and it will always be an alternative. Is Bitcoin the preferred alternative, though? We're gonna get there in a second. But unfortunately, when you talk to the vast majority of the Turks, they tell you we are not allowed to accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. How come? Because the government has been pushing a lot, using a lot their propaganda to let the people know that they must use the Turkish lira and nothing else. You don't hear in TV shows, or you don't read on mainstream media outlet about hyperinflation, about Bitcoin. I have friends there that they are doing a good job educating people, and they told me it's hard for us to discuss Bitcoin on TV because you cannot. So the government, it's using this propaganda to prevent this to happen. And this is something that we should not be surprised, because unfortunately, according to Reporters Without Borders, Turkey ranks very low in freedom of speech and freedom of media. 165th country on 180 country, even worse than Vladimir Putin, Russia, according to this. And this is important. Why? Because in order for Bitcoin to happen, we need free speech. Human rights are fundamental. We cannot have Bitcoin without actively advocating for free speech and for liberty all over the world. And this is something we should keep in mind every day. We cannot be selective when it comes to human rights. Thank you guys. Don't make me blush. From there, we took a flight to Beirut, Lebanon. Small country, 5 million people, 260% inflation on an annual basis, and nobody knows. Nobody knows exactly what's going on there. It's crazy. This is a rough summary of what happened in Lebanon. I had to summarize it because otherwise I need an hour just to explain you what happened. In the 90s and the 20s, there was the post-Civil War reconstruction and a good economic growth. But unfortunately, the government is so corrupted, so it fails to advance the country. 2010, 2019, the state debt is so high that they risk for the first time to go bankrupt. Their banks back there were offering total bank secrecy and high interest rates. So Lebanon became a place where a huge economic bubble was happening. Of course, the bubble burst. Protests in 2019. Of course, the explosion. It's the perfect storm what happened in Lebanon, guys. It's crazy to see. Hyperinflation, currency devaluation, shortage of basic goods. And this is the reason why when you travel Lebanon, unfortunately, you see this happening. This is the inflation rate of the Lebanese lira. Look at this graph. This happened in less than 3 years, guys. And when you travel the country, you see this. Building unfinished everywhere. Because the citizens, they still find nowadays the banks closed. So they lost everything they have. Everything. You find banks still closed. They are not allowed yet to withdraw their dollars from their dollar accounts. There is no electricity in the country. The state grid provides only 3-4 hours of electricity per day. So what you see around Beirut or around the cities are private generators, power generators everywhere. Because they have to provide for their own electricity. Solar panel everywhere. Look at this building. I love this building. This is my favorite building. It's basically a solar panel coating for a building. It's crazy. Or on the roof, you see stuff like that. It's crazy. And at the same time, Lebanon is a beautiful country, rich in history, rich in culture, an incredible historical heritage. People there is It is amazing. There is a vibrant cultural community. It's amazing what they are doing there. What about Bitcoin? There is Bitcoin in Lebanon. Of course there is Bitcoin in Lebanon. This is an Italian exchanging Bitcoin for dollars. You can obviously see it from the famous Italian gesture. This is us paying our hookah, our shisha in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is happening there as well. There is a local community, a local Bitcoin community in Lebanon. There is a local Bitcoin community in Turkey. But they get Bitcoin? Not really. Reality check. I think as Bitcoiners, we should be critics. Criticism is good. It's what makes us grow. So our experience in Turkey and Lebanon is that, for example, they don't know self-custodial. Everyone is on an exchange. Everyone keeps his Bitcoin on Binance. They don't know there is this alternative. They don't trust it. They don't understand the technology yet. They will. But the reality check is that, guys, we can be maximalists as much as we want, but stablecoin today are more widely used than Bitcoin in emerging and hyperinflating country. It is what it is. We are Bitcoiners, we shouldn't lie. This is not propaganda. Volatility for them is a problem. They are poor. Some of them is poor. So they cannot take a 10% fluctuation in a week. It's a problem for them. They don't understand the basics. They have to learn better. There is a big lack of Bitcoin education and awareness, guys. And this is something we, as a community, we are also partly responsible. You know X? Nobody's on X. Nobody knows Twitter in those areas. Everyone is on Instagram. So we should use those platforms better to reach those people. You know, our books, our podcasts, they don't listen to it. They don't read them. We have to support local community better. We have to work with them. We have to give them tools. We have to help them. We locked ourselves in a bubble. Twitter bubble, the Bitcoin sphere, the Maxi Toxi Bitcoin. Wow, it's us. We are talking among each other. They don't get it. Wake up. What are we doing? Now, let me go for a few minutes off topic. I'm sorry, but I don't know if it's off topic. So, while we were in Lebanon, we came back 1 week ago. Unfortunately, as you probably know, on the 8th of October, Hamas horribly attacked Israel, and Israel retaliated. Few days after, Hezbollah, the political party and militia that has a role in Lebanon, in the south part of the country, they started throwing rockets at Israel, and of course, Israel answered. This is the reason why, unfortunately, we had to change our schedule. We were supposed to visit the southern part of the country right in those days, and we decided that probably that was not the case, and we even decided to leave the country 5 days ahead because we were scared they might close the airport, and we had to be here with you guys. So this is something that saddened my heart, because to see a country like Lebanon facing war again in those conditions, it's something that it's, to be honest, horrible and sad. But the question is, why is that? Why a country that defaulted on its debt is considering another war that nobody wants? The citizens, they don't want it against Israel. Why we live in a world that looked like this? This is the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. These are all the countries that are facing a conflict in 2022. Half of the world is at war. And most of those countries, as you can see, are not rich countries. How can they manage this? Cyprus, again, world military expenditure rose 3.7%. 2,240 billions in 2022, the highest level ever recorded. How a world that is facing an international crisis after COVID, how the same world can spend a record level of money in the military? I have an answer, but I want her to answer. This is Treasury Secretary Miss Yellen. This was back in May. Debt ceiling must be raised in the US because if we default, it's gonna be a catastrophe, right? 1 week ago, oh, we can totally afford 2 wars. Totally, no problem. What happened? What happened? What happened between this? It's a catastrophe to this. Oh yeah, fine, 2 wars, we can support them. Of course, what happened is that the government of the US raised the debt ceiling, and this is how they pay for wars. Alex Gladstein called them credit card wars. They buy weapons for free. They just raise a debt that nobody's gonna repay. It's a scam. And we pay for it in form of hyperinflation. This is why I don't think this is that off topic. This is what's going on. Fiat money propel wars because they can spend as much as they want in weapon and nobody asks for an accounting check. Nobody does. Is this true? Is this true? Can we prove it? Yes. This is number of conflicts, and the arrow is 1971. When the Fiat world started. This is at Peace Research Institute of Oslo. Of course, there is a spike. Of course there is a spike, because now they can buy as much as they want, and all they need us to do is to believe that their money, printed out of thin air, have a value, so they can buy whatever they want. It's fake money. There's nothing behind it. That's how they fuel the warlord. $1 trillion, even more. Let's check this. This is the Brown University, Ivy League University, one of the top. The US are gonna pay $6.5 trillion only on interest in the 50s. After 9/11, $8 trillion have been spent, printed out of thin air, guys. Do you want to see how $8 trillion they look like? This is how they look like. This is how they look like. Who wants $8 trillion? You want $8 trillion? This is your $8 trillion. This is why we need Bitcoin. Enough. Thank you.